Hey guys, the PC Guy here with the news in tech and gaming for the week. We're starting off with a comment on Intel's benchmark that they last week released, comparing their Xeon Platinum 9282 to AMD's 2nd gen Ryzen EPYC 7742, and well, the logics and the skewed marketing behind it. The test, as you can imagine, gave Intel the upper hand in that comparison. However, there's a few caveats that we need to take into account when analyzing that test. For starters, the test used a benchmark engine called GROMAX 2019.3. This is a benchmark that they used, and well, let's just say that this benchmark does not even have support for AMD Zen 2 architecture, so they are using a benchmark version that does not support well what they are comparing against. The 2019.4 version, that was released a little bit later, does have the tools that enables AMD's EPYC processors to reach their full potential, and you could argue that Intel had this test already in the making and they're already ready, just not released yet. But in any case, it is kind of a skewed comparison, and I find it hard to believe that it is not intentionally made to make Intel's processors look better. Now, those tests gave an advantage depending on the situation between 8 and 80% to the Intel counterpart of the CPUs. However, the other point, other than the skewed benchmark that was utilized, is the pricing. We're comparing the Xeon Platinum from Intel, that is a $25,000 to $50,000 chip, to AMD's $7,000 chip. So they're not even products in the same category. It's kind of sad that Intel is even comparing them as apples to apples. And yeah, if you are going to compare processor to processor, then pick something in the same price range or at least relatively similar, because the people, I mean, it's kind of obvious if you're going to be spending almost 5 to 6, 7 times more on a processor, yeah, you do expect quite a lot more performance. So it's kind of a very skewed comparison, and obviously an attempt to fish at a bit of PR attention. On the AMD side of things, the launch of Threadripper, or at least the announcement, has just came through this week, and they have announced a 3960X with 24 cores, 48 threads, and the 3970X with 32 cores, 64 threads, as we expected. There was talk previously of a 3990X, which has not been really announced yet, although it could always just still come in the future. The CPUs will run on a TRX 40 socket, so new socket from the previous generation of Threadripper, which is fine. AMD had promised that the AM4 socket would be compatible throughout 2020, but they did not mention that the TR platform would also be compatible for this generation. So it is, perfectly acceptable for them to put the new socket in. That enables them to get the full potential out of the CPUs they are putting out. Actual performance numbers will have to wait until they are actually in the wild. We'll have to take a look at that in terms of pricing, performance, and comparison to the Intel alternatives. But as far as we can see right now, and if the previous launches are any indication, it does seem to be quite a powerhouse. As far as pricing goes, the 3960X will have an MSRP of $1,400, and the 3970X will have an MSRP of $2,000. This is a lot more than we are used to seeing from AMD. However, we have to keep in mind that these are a lot more optimized and perform a lot better than the previous generations. And we should also keep in mind a little bit that the previous generation of Threadripper is actually also selling under the MSRP. So there is a chance that, depending on supply and demand, obviously, that these parts will be selling at less than the price that I just mentioned. And then the developer, Yuri Boboli, aka one Usmus, I am not sure how to pronounce this, Luzmus, one Usmus, whatever. He has developed a power plan, a custom power plan for the Ryzen 3000 CPU series, which is supposed to give you between 200 and 250 megahertz extra, basically for free on your CPU performance. Power plan is available in several places. I'm looking at Go3D right now, and it is supposed to give you that performance while at the same time making your CPU run slightly cooler by optimizing the way it handles different workloads and, well, the power that it gets from the power plan that is being used. It is right now only available via this, well, third party, let's call it, zip that you can set up and install. However, he has submitted it to AMD, and he says he hopes that AMD will include it in their own software suite, which has happened before in the past with other occasions, and would just give this plan by default to users without the extra hassle. Things like this just reinforce the idea of AMD's fine wine philosophy that clearly, well, seems to state that when an AMD product launches, it only keeps getting better from the launch day onward with improvements and tweaks and the software side improvements again. It's like the graphics card, the Threadripper driver updates keeps getting better and better. It seems like their CPUs are also getting small improvements over time, and if they already were great CPUs value-wise and performance-wise compared to their Intel counterparts, then optimizations like this will surely pull them over the top. Especially when, for example, the 3900X was only a scarce single-digit percent behind the 9900K, even in the dominant Intel workload, which right now is gaming and single-threaded applications. If they were so little behind, things like this could literally push it over the top and make AMD be completely uncontested as far as performance goes. Lisu has also confirmed last Sunday that the Ryzen, 4000 I suppose series will be coming in early next year. It will be starting on the mobile side of things with still Zen 2. They are called Ryzen 4000 whatever, but they are still based on the Zen 2 architecture. However, shortly after that, we should be getting the desktop side of the CPUs, of the 4000 CPUs, this time on the Zen 3 process node already. So even though they will not be the first Zen 4000, Ryzen 4000 parts out there, they will be the first with the Zen 3 architecture. And they should be coming also next year. Not as early as the mobile, obviously, but I am expecting it in the first half of the year, and they should still be compatible with the current AM4 platform. And she has also confirmed that, well, all the other Zen iterations right now are on track and there are no delays expected. In other good news for AMD, it seems like Netflix is considering switching from their Intel-based servers to AMD-based servers. Apparently, from what they calculated, the costs of switching or upgrading are roughly the same. AMD offers a small increase in terms of performance compared to the Intel counterparts. Not a massive change, not a massive difference, but it is there. And in situations like this, the smallest of differences can be meaningful. They are aiming of having a goal of 200 Gbps per server, which they do not have right now. Neither the Intel nor the AMD part comes completely on point with this goal. However, the AMD part comes slightly closer and, well, not very far off from the 200 goal that they have. So this might be a factor in the decision. With news like this popping up, it seems like AMD's goal of increasing their presence in the server and data center side of things is on a good track, and we'll have to see what kind of an impact this has on Intel. I have no doubt that Intel will have an answer to this. However, my question is, when will that answer come? Because they seem to be very far reasonably far, I mean more than a year away from actually releasing parts that can compete with AMD. And well, they just started on their 7nm scaling, so that's probably also going to take a while. And in the meantime, AMD is gaining customers and gaining momentum. Intel is a big company, but they cannot leave this unattended for too long, otherwise they will definitely be losing their market share a little bit. New Navi GPUs, this time second generation Navi, have been spotted on the Linux driver logs. Now these are the Navi 21, 22 and 23. There was no Navi 20 spotted. And for clarification, the way the naming system works on this, the lower the number, then the higher the performance. So the first number is the family name, so this would be a Navi second generation because it's 2 something, 20 something, and the 23 would be the weakest one, 22 the in between, and 21 would be the strongest GPU of the three. The Navi 20, if it exists, would be even better than the Navi 21. However, it was not spotted in this Linux driver update, and well, it's not known if it was scrapped or if it was renamed to the 21 and a better one will come later. It's completely unknown right now, but in any case, these are not going to be coming immediately. Best case scenario, we'll have an announcement at CES. Best case scenario, although more realistically, we might see something at Computex later in the year. And well, it's still a few months away, and no indication on performance or how good they are. No indication if this batch contains the actual NVIDIA killer that they have been boasting about. We'll just have to wait and see. In any case, I would not expect these GPUs to be out before mid to late 2020. So, well, let's all keep our expectations in check and not wait for them to be out next week. Next one is an WCCF Tech rumor, so grain of salt. Even they themselves say take it with a grain of salt right here. So if they say grain of salt, make it a bucket. They claim that the RTX 2080 Ti Super will be launching early 2020, and this would be because the next-gen Ampere GPUs that would be running on 7nm will have been delayed and will not be as early as we and they hoped it would be. They do know that AMD will probably be launching better graphics cards on the year to come, and they need to have an answer for that. When the whole super talk started coming, and when the RTX 2080 Ti came, they did mention that the 2080 Ti would stay the king of GPUs for this generation. So they probably at the start did not have plans or did not want to reveal their plans of launching a 2080 Ti Super. However, if AMD will be launching new graphics cards that can compete, and if Nvidia's next generation is delayed, then they do need something. They need to put something out there that can keep them on top, that can keep them as the leader in the GPU market and try not to lose that name, that reputation, that mindshare. So this would probably be it. There's enough room between the 2080 Ti and the Titan RTX to launch a card in between that would be better than 2080 Ti. By how much, it's impossible to tell. The pricing is also a very big factor, and it is also impossible to tell. And it's also not known if it would be a replacement for the 2080 Ti or if it would be a step up with the Ti still being sold. Personally, my gamble and my guess would be that if this is true, that the 2080 Ti will be reduced in price, probably closer to the actual MSRP, because maybe it would be going to the 999 price instead of the 1200 plus that we are seeing lately, and the 2080 Ti Super would be taking the price point that is now owned by the 2080 Ti. If that makes sense, I am not sure. Actually, let me know what you guys think, because it obviously all depends on what AMD's actions will be, what the performance of the AMD cards will be, and also what the price will be relating to that performance. This has been mostly it for this week in terms of actual interesting tech news. There were a few articles surfacing about the 9900KS, how well it can overclock, yada yada yada. Just boils down to that it is basically a bin 9900K. Unless you have a very good lottery winner, you are not going to see a massive difference on it, to be honest. Some golden samples of 9900K are actually beating the KS, so nothing to be super excited about. The only thing I can mention about the 9900KS is that it has been selling on Silicon Lottery already, a bin version of it that is going to be sold. It is actually out of stock right now, as far as I know, but it is priced at $1,200 for a 5.2 gigahertz overclock bin sample. So yeah, it is quite a hefty price just to have a few extra megahertz, and you could probably overclock it yourself at home. Maybe not all of the samples, maybe only some, and you might have to pump a bit more voltage than on a specially binned version to, achieve those clock speeds. But in any case, seems like quite a hefty price to pay for a few extra megahertz, which you probably won't notice unless you really want to nitpick about it. Now, this has been the bulk of the news for the week. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hope it has been useful for you. This has been Attic PC Guy. Leave a like, comment, or share if you have enjoyed this video and would like to see the series continue. If you'd like to help our channel grow, I would very much appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, check out our other videos, and share the channel with your friends, which might actually also enjoy it themselves. So I'll see you guys next week. Have fun, and I'll see you later.